I would like to talk about some of my experiences with the Tibetans and then draw some outline of the issue under discussion. How many of you have gone to Norbulinka? Dharamshala Norbulinka, yes. Many of you don't. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I should have clarified. Yeah, Dharamshala Norbulinka. Now, if you go there, you see a lot of beautiful crafts and arts and this, that, and the other. Huh? And this Tanka painting, they have this, gold paint. So the molten gold is used there. And as you enter that hall, where these wonderful artisans are painting Tanka paintings, outside the hall, like in this baranda here, as you enter, there are balls and balls with the molten gold. There is no watchman. There is no supervisor on those artists. There is no watchman or even to, undertake a complete body scan of the visitors there. You go there inside, you come out. Nobody cares. Nobody bothers whether you will pick up some gold, molten gold, or somebody would, steal from there. Okay, now, I give you another example. Today, the world has forgotten the truth, as Ashish Da has put it in a wonderful way. The one man who is reminding the entire world the forgotten truth today is only a Tibetan. Is the Dalai Lama, right? Whom people everywhere flock. They try to come closer to him, and as Sundu said, this is one smile is more powerful than the Chinese bomb. Chimi Yungdong tells me that inside Tibet, more they are being repressed, stronger is the movement coming up with the new generation, younger generation. If you were globalized, and Ashish Da has given us the definition of globalization, I would put it in the same vein. Actually, yes, globalization started with Renaissance, whose hero was human being, man being the center of everything. If divinity, sacredness, religion, civilization, all those things which are imperceptible by our senses, were at the center of your concern, if your soul, if your divine figure, if the mystery in all that which is involved, if that is the center of your life and all your concern, for which you are making all sacrifice and undertaking sufferings, then you are not secularized. Because the globalization, in fact, I would say, and if I'm wrong, you may, Dada, correct me, globalization would essentially mean secularization. And nationalism is a political expression of secularization. I gave you all these examples of Tibetan people that I have observed. And one can go on giving such examples from among you people. Then you are not secularized. If you are secularized, you would put your own body and your own personal concern, your own selfish interests, your interests, in the front of everything, even as a nation and even as an individuals. secularization, this globalization in terms of secularization, is a fact in the West. It is a fact of life. When I look at my own country, India, it is not a fact of life. It is still an undertaking, a project. And China, what Dada has said, I'm only putting that in slightly different words. In China, too, it is a project. It is not a fact of life. If it were a fact of life, then an ideology and a dictatorial rule would not have been necessitated by whatever their nation state is. And in India, because it is a project and it is not a fact of life, globalization, total secularization of our mind and our thought, we would not have our state so much corrupt and so much injustice going on in this society, and yet we are comfortable with singing the songs of nation state. I think this is where Dada said that probably there would be also hope for a revival of tradition even in China, and maybe Tibet would become the cause for that. And with my young friends, Tibetan friends, who are in this dilemma and this rather inner, I don't want to use the term like conflict or dissension, because there is no conflict the way we understand conflict. But certainly I think there is an inner struggle between this middle way and the Rangzen. So where is the dilemma? How do we define freedom? Problem is this. And with the young Tibetans, I think, this problem, not finding probably their own aspirations reflected in the middle way, and finding Rangzen as more attractive and more inspiring and ideal than middle way. I think this issue needs to be resolved, I would say. And why I say? The Tibetan are so much in their tradition. But this title is very right, at the threshold. And one doesn't need to explain why you are on the threshold. But the very politics, the very freedom struggle of Tibetan, and the repression by China and occupation by China has put you on that threshold. So, what is the challenge? The freedom in terms of political freedom. Here I generally do loud thinking with my friends that this is an issue. I mean, we can discuss this and say this openly because this is very necessary. Because in Mahatma Gandhi we say, I have often told him, and other friends also Tibetan, what did he say to British? First you get off my chest, and then I will find my destiny. Right? Can Tibetan today say this? This is the issue. Because a Tibetan have a sense of destiny, their eternal destiny. Secularization has not supplanted your idea of your destiny. Secondly, the question of civilization, as Ashish Da has put us before us, particularly our civilization, in which I would say Tibetan Indian civilization, they are from one civilization. When they are aggressed upon, as the secularization has aggressed upon, it is eating us inside, nation state, etc., etc. The very ideology of secularization. So do we undergo, do we get completely defeated, or do we withdraw as a civilization? Do we allow the new imposter ideology of secularization to supplant our tradition, to replace it completely, or do we, for a time being, we withdraw inside ourselves? I think somewhere His Holiness and the teachers of Tibetan who have the responsibility of taking Tibetan civilization ahead to protect the Tibetan essence. Because as you rightly pointed out, what does Tibetan mean? We people, Tibetan, the present generation, the future generation? Does it mean Tibetan culture, Tibetan land, Tibetan plateau, what? This question is common to all, Indians, Tibetans, everybody. What do we mean by ourselves being Indian? What do we mean by ourselves as human beings? What is our essence? What is our sense of our eternal destiny? This is what defines us. Therefore, Dada, Ashish Da, brought the question of civilization. This is how we define ourselves civilizationally. So Tibet certainly is at a threshold. And at this threshold, at present, China being what it is, Chinese nation state rather, PS, People's Republic of China, not China is China, right? The communist China, the rule. It has all the power. And these questions have been raised with His Holiness, with Samdong Rinpoche, if you read various accounts of their dialogues. That today we see that to make business with China, any nation would be ready to sacrifice Tibet. They are doing it. Tibet becomes a secondary issue when the business with China, the prospects of business with China opens up. So, for the younger generation of Tibet to become worried about one important question, not only you, people like us also are worried, and I have this question, that is it impossible today to protect a spiritual civilization? Is it possible for a spiritual civilization to live in this world today? And therefore, at one point, Mahatma Gandhi said in Indian struggle in 47, almost at the time when, the final designs were being made of who would become what in India. I mean, giving independence was almost ready. And then, on the question of partition, etc., and with the differences with Congress, etc., and that is said that if Indian leadership in India doesn't stand by truth, I have nothing to do with India. My voice would be a voice in a wilderness, and I will be alone. Even from the rooftop, I would speak the truth, and I would go against my nation. So is my religion is supreme to me, or my nationalism is supreme to me, my nation state is supreme to me? Which controls my supreme thought, my complete individuality, my inner soul. Who should control it? These are some random thoughts I'm just putting before you, because we cannot resolve here the question of the, say, this differences that among the Tibetans today, particularly the young Tibetans, about Rangzhen and Middle Path. I need not repeat, because you all know that the total attention of His Holiness and his core people, the type of institutions you have created in India. How many of you have seen the library in Sarnath institution? Once you should go. Aapne dekha hai kya? I mean, I have gone there, and when I was taken to a tour of that library, my first reaction was, and I told Samdang Rinpoche was there, he had told the librarian to take me there. I said, my God, I think perhaps the Tibetans have produced the most per capita spiritual literature than anybody in the world. The per capita production of spiritual literature is unbelievable. And what you have done in Sarnath, I mean, that Vidya Kendra, that center of learning, I have not seen any Indian center of learning like that. That is the preservation of Tibet. There Tibet lives, right from 12th century to 16th century to up to now. We lost our freedom, Tibetans, because from 8th to 12th century, there was a lot of corruption within the Tibet, right? I mean, you underwent, I mean, there were many deformities that were contracted within the Tibetan society, which some of your teachers, some of our teachers who are Tibetans, they ascribe the present woes of Tibet to this inner weakness that the Tibetan people, Tibetan nation, developed over 2, 3, 4 centuries. To come out of it, these efforts are being made. And with the faith which only those who know the movements of civilizations, how the civilizations rise and civilizations fall, how the traditions live and how traditions go under and withdraw under the threat of modernity. Those who know this, people like visionary people like His Holiness Samdang Rinpoche, for them this is therefore the main issue, I suppose, to how to keep this alive and therefore make a compromise with what is today known is a political freedom, freedom within a nation state. How would you resolve this? I don't know. Yes, I was discussing with Sundula that with younger generation, there should be a continuous dialogue on your inheritance, on your heritage. The inheritance which has been willed to you, with a testament. That is only yours. And how to keep that up, how to keep that alive, because freedom lies in that. Rather than freedom, according to the present situation vis-a-vis China and vis-a-vis the international scenario, as I said, that everybody is ready to sacrifice Tibet. Yes, for His Holiness, they go gaga over him. I mean, lakhs of people gather in America. But then, in order to please China, His Holiness had to come out from the back door of the American president, not from the front door. This is all the situation, right? So, within this situation, what is the space? I think this worry, this concern of your teachers, your leaders, your icons, our icons, His Holiness probably, I think we need a better understanding for that. I would plead that, whereas as a Gandhian activist, yes, I stand by freedom. I don't see contradiction between these two things. Because Rangzen and then Rangwang, it is only either the Indian origin languages which have a synonym of Rangwang in Swaraj, this term Swaraj. Whereas I don't know if any other language, English certainly doesn't have any word for Swaraj. So much so that if you look at the latest edition of Oxford Dictionary, Dada, many Indian words are taken, every edition includes new words from various languages and makes it their own English. Swaraj is there. And how do they define it there in the dictionary? Independence for India. This is how it is defined. Whereas Mahatma Gandhi had to write in 1927 the difference between independence versus Swaraj. That how independence is just the opposite of the term Swaraj, and say, I don't know what is independence. Swaraj means self-control. It is an ancient Vedic word. It means self-restraint. Independence, I don't know, it only means loss of restraint and independence of the powerful over the less powerful. This term Swaraj has not been defined in India ever since. Only one man who has defined this in 5-10 sentences. In order to define this Swaraj, the civilization which Ashish Da was talking about, the unique civilization, a non-violent civilization, a spiritual civilization that Tibet is, in order to define this term, Mahatma Gandhi had to write 87 pages, Hindu Swaraj. Your teachers are our teachers. Their teachers are teachers of today's humanity. The real meaning of freedom. So I think if the Tibetan younger generation keeps on exploring the meaning of freedom with reference to their own heritage, the Tibetan civilization, your own universal responsibility, I think this unnecessary inner struggle, which has some unpalatable, rather nuances also, unfortunately, this will disappear or at least dilute. And this is very important, that those who talk about Rangzen don't need to be vilified. They are as much sons and daughters of Tibet. They are as much devotees and followers of His Holiness as those who stand by and who stand only by middle way, as against Rangzan. This against has to be removed. And this responsibility is yours. People like Ashish Da and me can only assist you. And Sundula knows it very well, right? That this has been our stand. Always ready to correct. But this united strength about the Tibetan tradition and Tibetan civilization that you represent has to have an equal place in Tibetan struggle rather than two different struggles. Thank you so much.